Part 29. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 288. Time passed bit by bit, and Suanwu still had no intention of sticking his head out. The shrimp soldiers and crab generals looked at Suanwu and didn't speak for a long time. They had placed their weapons in front of Qin Hao, hoping that Qin Hao could leave the Black Sea. "We don't want to fight swords in the fairyland, so please leave the Black Sea." Qin Hao saw that the shrimp soldiers and crab generals had given him an ultimatum, and then said, "I can clean the thorns on your turtle shell." When the voice fell, Suanwu immediately stretched his head out of the turtle shell. Suanwu has been lying here for tens of thousands of years, and he has always wanted to leave here. Unfortunately, Suanwu's body has long been connected to the seabed. There is no way for him to leave at all. Is this true? You must clean all the thorns on my turtle shell without hurting me. Suanwu still seemed a little unconvinced, and reminded Qin Hao repeatedly. Qin Hao looked at Suanwu and turned his attention to himself. "Since I dare to say this, I will definitely try my best." Suanwu glanced at Qin Hao, not knowing how true or false Qin Hao's words were. And he has been here for tens of thousands of years, and he is full of desire for his freedom deep in his heart. Maybe it's because Qin Hao knows that Suanwu not daring to try, he continued, "If I can't clean it up, you can just let them drive me away. Since there won't be any problems if you try." Suanwu naturally nodded to Qin Hao. "Yes, if you can clean all the thorns on my turtle shell, I can lend you the sea-suppressing treasure." Suanwu has made a decision at this time and let all the shrimp soldiers and crab generals leave from inside. Qin Hao saw that Suanwu believed in him, and the sword had been sacrificed by him. Although Qin Hao was at the bottom of the Black Sea, the water still did not hinder Qin Hao. Hao used his magic circle. He saw the Xuxian killing array spread out again and suppressed it fiercely towards the bottom of the water. As the Xuxian killing array continued to attack, a layer of soil under the water had been scraped off, allowing Qin Hao to see clearly the Suanwu. "Where is the thorn located?" "Senior Suanwu, because the thorn has been deeply rooted in your turtle shell, I must eradicate it. I hope you can endure the pain." Suanwu has been waiting for this day for too long. When he saw Qin Hao coming to his side, he immediately retracted his head into the turtle shell. It was precisely because Suanwu had already reacted that Qin Hao commanded the Suanwu killing formation. "Get up." When the Suanwu killing formation just arrived under the turtle shell, he immediately started to operate the formation. Boom, a burst of unusually majestic energy burst out in the killing array, and the Suanwu thorn broke inside. There was a little green blood flowing out of the basalt turtle shell, as if the foundation had been damaged. Suanwu was worried that Qin Hao would not dare to take action, so he immediately shouted to Qin Hao, "Don't worry, just get rid of the roots." Qin Hao reminded himself as he looked at Suanwu, and the immortal killing formation moved closer to Suanwu again. Suddenly, all the thorns on the Suanwu turtle shell were sucked into it, and it was strangled by the Xuxian killing array and turned into a ball of nothingness. As the last Suanwu thorn is involved in the killing array, Suanwu's body can float. As for Suanwu's wounds, I believe he can heal in a short time without even leaving any scars. Haha, I finally came out. Suanwu was flying freely in the Black Sea, but he didn't notice that Qin Hao's eyes were getting colder and colder. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 289. Draw. Suanwu poked his head out of the Black Sea and took a deep breath of the air outside. Qin Hao put his hands on his chest, and the immortal killing formation was not withdrawn for a long time, as if it was Qin Hao's trump card. Soon, Suanwu slowly swam down from the Black Sea. When he looked at Qin Hao, he didn't seem to be afraid of him at all, and he was always murmuring in his heart. Suanwu really wanted to leave just now. After all, he was the lord of the Black Sea, so he naturally didn't want to be threatened by others. But when he looked at Qin Hao's confident eyes, he still couldn't make up his mind. I have not been free for tens of thousands of years, and I did lose my temper just now. Underscore. No problem, just come with me. Suan Wu led the way, and Qin Hao immediately chased after Suan Wu. It was pitch black in the Black Sea, and Qin Hao couldn't see the road ahead clearly. If it weren't for Qin Hao's spiritual consciousness, I'm afraid he would have been dumped by Suan Wu. Lost it? Soon, Suan Wu took Qin Hao to an underwater cave. The Genhai Divine Pearl is inside, you can go inside and have a look. Suan Wu stayed outside, as if he had no intention of going inside. Qin Hao turned his head and saw that Suan Wu did not dare to enter the cave, wondering if there was danger inside. But Qin Hao had already arrived outside the cave, and he could not because don't go in if there is some danger. Qin Hao stepped on the wall of the cave hard, and his body was shot in like a cannonball. Outside the cave, there was chaos and black everywhere, but inside the cave, there was a burst of clarity, and the two sides formed sharp contrast. Unexpectedly, the Pearl of Genhai was stored in the cave by Yu. Qin Hao looked at the orb in the center of the cave, and naturally walked to it. The orb was blue in color, and there were bases on both sides. When Qin Hao just stretched out his hand to take down the orb, there was a sudden sound in his ears. A sound transmission made Qin Hao quickly put down his palm. The pearl of suppressing the sea is the Black Sea suppressing pearl. If you take the pearl down now, the Black Sea will immediately be in turmoil. Qin Hao heard the voice right next to him, and quickly looked around him, and found that there was no one around him. Emperor Taixuan saw that Qin Hao had been looking around, and the voice rang again. You are still in the immortal realm, but a ray of divine consciousness has been placed on your body. Qin Hao heard Emperor Taixuan reminding him all the time, and quickly asked, how should I take away the Genhai Pearl? Emperor Taixuan is well informed, so he naturally knows how to deal with the Pearl of Genhai. Emperor Taixuan saw a phantom coming out of Qin Hao's body and slowly walked to the Pearl of Genhai. The Pearl of Genhai has sneaked into the stone platform. If you want to take it away, I'm afraid you have to take away the stone platform as well. Emperor Taixuan has already come up with a solution for Qin Hao. Qin Hao glanced at the stone platform in front of him, and the immortal killing formation was released from Qin Hao again. The stone platform merged into the seabed not far away, and Qin Hao easily dug out the stone platform, using one hand to drag the stone platform up using buoyancy. Thank you, Senior Suan Wu, I won't go out. Qin Hao knew Suan Wu was waiting outside, so he took the stone platform and rushed out towards Hi. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 290. Wow. Qin Hao took Shitai out of the water cave and suddenly looked at the surroundings. At this time, it was impossible to tell the direction in the Black Sea, so Qin Hao had no choice but to find a way to rise to the surface of the sea. But Suan Wu looked at Qin Hao holding the stone platform in his hand, and naturally it was impossible for Qin Hao to leave smoothly. I saw Suan Wu's generous arms constantly waving, and the water in the Black Sea kept rolling, hitting Qin Hao under the waves. Qin Hao glanced at the Genhai Divine Pearl in his hand and knew that Suan Wu had discovered him. Senior Suan Wu, since you have finished your words, please do not stop me from taking the things away. Qin Hao's tone was unusually kind. When Suan Wu heard Qin Hao's voice, he immediately burst into laughter. That's good, you can actually tell immediately that it was me who took action. Qin Hao heard Suan Wu speak, but found that Suan Wu had no intention of stopping. He held his palms on the stone platform with all his strength, and stepped hard on the water with his solace, as if he wanted to escape at once. Qin Hao was under the Black Sea. He couldn't see anything, and Suan Wu had lived inside for a long time, so his sight was not affected in the slightest. When Qin Hao had just escaped a certain distance, another wave of waves hit him hard, knocking Qin Hao back into the cave. Damn it, there's no way I can leave from inside. Senior Suanwu's spell is too powerful. Qin Hao raised his head and took a look at the outside of the cave, and found that the huge waves in the Black Sea were so huge that he could not leave with his cultivation level. Suanwu saw Qin Hao standing in the cave and not coming out, and laughed and said, "You, as long as you can bring the things out smoothly, the sea-suppressing divine pearl will naturally be yours." Qin Hao heard that Suanwu deliberately provoked him, and he knew that Suanwu had no intention of lending anything to him. He saw Qin Hao touching the Kailan arm he was carrying. He knew that Kinyu Immortal Lord was still waiting for him to go back. Then Qin Hao regained his composure, and slowly rushed out of the cave with Shi Tai. When Qin Hao just escaped from the cave, he found that Suanwu began to stir up the Black Sea again, trying to stir up the Black Sea. The waves knocked him down. Qin Hao held the stone platform in his left hand, gritting his teeth, and kept floating on it, as if he wanted to take the stone platform out of the Black Sea. "Give up, you are no match for me." Suanwu's huge body was floating on the surface of the Black Sea, completely blocking the route above Qin Hao's head. Even if Qin Hao could reach the surface of the sea now, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to get out of the Black Sea. Soon, Qin Hao, with the feeling that he was infinitely close to the sea, his legs and feet were tightly grabbed by a group of shrimps, soldiers, and crabs, leaving him with no way to escape. Feeling the constant restrictions on his legs and feet, Qin Hao knew that Suanwu was controlling the underwater creatures to pull him. "It seems that the Jinhai Pearl is very important to you, and you can actually give up your face." Qin Hao pulled out the weapon he was carrying. He didn't care about so much now. In Qin Hao's view, Suanwu had promised to lend it to him, so he should keep his promise. Qin Hao saw it in his hand. After waving the sword, the immortal killing formation quietly took shape in front of him, and sword lights and sword shadows emerged in front of him. Suddenly, a clear land appeared in the Black Sea, allowing Qin Hao to hide in it and observe what was happening around him. Fantasy: after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author: Love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 291. Laugh, laugh. Shrimps, soldiers, and crab generals kept accidentally breaking into the killing array, causing the Zuxian killing array to strangle into nothingness. Qin Hao looked at the bursts of blood mist erupting outside the sword formation, and laughed and said, "Ha ha, Senior Suanwu, don't let them come to die. The Zuxian killing array is Zuxian, and you can't resist it?" Suanwu lowered his head and looked. Looking at the killing formation in front of Qin Hao, he responded softly, "Inferior beings have never possessed spiritual intelligence. They will only obey my instructions." As the blood mist increased, the space in front of Qin Hao was once again filled with it got clogged. Qin Hao suddenly understood Suanwu's true intention. It turned out that he just wanted to block his sight with blood mist. Qin Hao watched the blood mist in front of him getting thicker and thicker, knowing that he would never be able to see the route of the Black Sea clearly. "Hey, I didn't expect you to be so vicious." Qin Hao raised his head and angrily yelled at Suanwu. Suanwu watched Qin Hao keep roaring at him. He didn't have the slightest intention of getting angry, and slowly fell silent. Suddenly, there was a voice in Qin Hao's ear again. "Suanwu is the lord of the Black Sea, and I cannot take action at will, otherwise there will be a catastrophe in the immortal domain and the Black Sea." Emperor Taixuan reminded Qin Hao. Although Emperor Taixuan did not point it out directly, Qin Hao immediately heard something from Emperor Taixuan's words. "You can't do it, but I can do it." Qin Hao quietly began to move the immortal killing formation. Suanwu watched Qin Hao actually start to move the killing formation, knowing that Qin Hao must have the support of that person. Otherwise, Qin Hao would not have made such a bold operation. The people in the Black Sea creatures cannot be calculated using ordinary numbers. As the surrounding creatures burst into nothingness, Qin Hao slowly approached Suanwu. Suan Wu watched Qin Hao getting closer and closer to him, and a faint green light bloomed around his body. Out! Clang! The blade struck the Suan Wu turtle shell, and the sword formation could no longer function. Qin Hao quietly retracted the killing formation, and his body was already very close to the sea, as if he could soar into the sky at any time. Suan Wu lowered his head and glanced at Qin Hao, his eyes always on Qin Hao. I am the most difficult person to deal with in the Black Sea, and I will not be afraid of any attacks from you. After saying this, a layer of tortoise shell quietly appeared on Suan Wu's body and shrouded Qin Hao directly. When the tortoise shell just enveloped Qin Hao felt as if he was at the bottom of a well, and his body was always covered by the tortoise shell. Suppressed. Qin Hao saw that the weight of the tortoise shell was too heavy, and knew that he could not continue to be suppressed. Qin Hao once again hit the Zuxian killing formation, and a blade began to flow. With the blessing of the sword domain, the tortoise shell the weight was naturally reduced, and Qin Hao could naturally relax. Suan Wu looked at Qin Hao, who actually maintained the height with his own strength, with a hint of appreciation in his eyes. If people in the immortal realm are like this, we in the Black Sea can make some friends. Suan Wu no longer had much hostility towards Qin Hao at this time. He even wanted to let Qin Hao take away the things. Break. A roar came out of Qin Hao's mouth. There were already some cracks in the tortoise shell that Suan Wu punched. At this time, the tortoise shell no longer felt any restraint, and Qin Hao could escape from it at will. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 292. Boom. The tortoise shell cracked into pieces and gradually sank to the bottom of the sea, turning into undersea ruins. Qin Hao stood in the Zuxian killing formation, his eyes always on Suan Wu. Your turtle shell seems to have been cracked by me. I wonder what will happen to you next. Suan Wu looked at Qin Hao and turned his strongest. His defense was broken, and his body slowly trembled. Unexpectedly, you really gave me a surprise. Suan Wu looked at Qin Hao, his body already trembling a little. Qin Hao watched Suan Wu focus on himself and said with a smile, I am standing in front of you now, can I let you go? I took the stuff away. Hearing that Qin Hao wanted to leave, Suan Wu chuckled and said, you still have to face the last hurdle before you can leave with the Genhai Pearl. Qin Hao looked at Suan Wu and wanted to test himself, with a trace of sadness between his brows. I don't know how the seniors need to be tested, so the juniors just accepted. Qin Hao set his sights on Suan Wu. At this time, Qin Hao had already walked in front of Suan Wu. He only needed Suan Wu to make way for a gap, and Qin Hao could leave through the gap. Suan Wu shrank his body completely inside the turtle shell. Said with a smile, step over me, and I can let you leave the Black Sea. Qin Hao looked at Suan Wu and put his eyes on him. He didn't know why Suan Wu had such an idea. Although Suan Wu's body had been curled up in the turtle shell, his eyes were still on Qin Hao, as if he wanted to see will Qin Hao really take action? The shrimp soldiers and crab generals looked at Suan Wu and wanted Qin Hao to hit him, so they naturally stood beside Suan Wu to prevent Qin Hao from really killing him. Qin Hao had the immortal killing formation circulating around him all the time. His eyes were always on Suan Wu, as if he was thinking about whether to take action. Seeing that Qin Hao still didn't take action, Suan Wu said angrily, as long as you move me, you can leave directly. Qin Hao saw Suan Wu urging him like this all the time, and the killing formation didn't dare to react at all. The junior did not dare to take action against the senior, and hoped that the senior could make way for him. The junior was grateful. Qin Hao slightly bent over Suan Wu, hoping that Suan Wu could get out of the way. When Suan Wu saw that Qin Hao had given up the attack, he dug his head out. Yes, this is how young people should respect the old and love the young. Ah! After saying that, Suan Wu moved his body out of the way. Qin Hao watched Suan Wu really move out of the way. He stood there for a long time without reacting, not knowing whether he wanted to go over or not. Suanwu kept looking at Qin Hao. Without leaving, he said with a smile, if you had attacked me just now, you would have been kicked out by us now. The shrimp soldiers and crab generals also moved out of the way at this time, allowing Qin Hao to freely enter and exit the Black Sea. Watching them move out of the way, Qin Hao clasped his fists at them and said, I just need to use the Genhai Pearl temporarily. Once I use it up, I will return it to Zhao intact. Suanwu saw that Qin Hao had already given him an answer, and immediately nodded slightly to Qin Hao. It doesn't matter, Immortal Realm has just experienced a disaster, I believe you can survive it. Qin Hao listened to Suanwu cheering for him, raised his hands to them, took the stone platform into the sky, and rushed straight to the direction of the fairyland. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 293. Qin Hao seems to be back. Take a look. The immortal kings looked at each other and saw a touch of excitement on each other's faces. Emperor Taixuan was naturally very happy when he saw Qin Hao coming back from outside. In his opinion, Qin Hao could come back from the Black Sea, the danger inside naturally does not need to be described. Qin Hao slowly walked up to Emperor Taixuan, took out the Genhai Divine Pearl in his hand, and placed it in front of everyone. When the blue sphere just came out, all the immortal officials, my body felt very comfortable, as if I was in the sea. Emperor Taixuan stretched out his hand and summoned the sea-suppressing pearl in his hand. Where are the unicorn arms? Emperor Taixuan set his sights on Qin Hao, as if he wanted to see where the Kylin arm was. Qin Hao watched Emperor Taixuan summoning him, and quickly took out the Kylin arm from his clothes. Maybe it was because of the Kylin arm, it had been broken for some time, and the blood on it had disappeared. Emperor Taixuan looked at the Kylin arm and summoned it. A golden light bloomed from his body, forcibly dispelling the death energy inside. When all the death energy in the Kylin arm was expelled, the skin on it will naturally become more and more elastic. Qinyu Xianzun watched the Kylin arm become more and more flexible, with a touch of expectation in his eyes. He knew that the Kylin arm was his future arm, so he naturally wanted to try to achieve something as perfect as possible. As the meridians on Kylin's arm began to squirm, Emperor Taixuan set his sights on Qinyu Immortal Lord. Open all your meridians and prepare to connect with the Kylin arm. Emperor Taixuan threw out the Kylin arm and connected it directly to the Qinyu Immortal Lord. When the Kylin arm just connected to the Qinyu Immortal Lord's arm, he felt as if his arm was being burned by fire. A stinging pain kept hitting his brain. Just when Qinyu Immortal Lord was about to faint, Emperor Taixuan quickly reminded him, keep your mind, only after a broken arm can be reborn. Because the muscles in the broken arm are constantly growing, the pain will naturally increase exponentially. Go. Emperor Taixuan placed the sea-suppressing divine pearl on the head of Qinyu Immortal Lord, causing the pain on Qinyu Immortal Lord's face to subside slightly. Qin Hao saw that Qinyu Immortal Lord had entered a period of recovery and knew that his broken arm was basically fine. Haha, it seems that there is still some power left in the Kylin arm, so Qinyu Immortal Lord is a blessing in disguise. Emperor Taixuan put his eyes on Qin Hao, as if he was observing Qin Hao's movements. Qin Hao watched Emperor Taixuan turn his eyes on himself, and said with a smile, the Lord of the Black Sea, Suanwu, allows us to borrow the orb for a period of time. With time, our fairyland will naturally be stable for a period of time. Emperor Taixuan knows the power of Black Sea Suanwu, so he naturally has no other words to say. In this case, we will wait for Qinyu Immortal to recover his arm. The blood debt can only be repaid with blood. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone could see a hint of murderous intent from Emperor Taixuan. It seems that Emperor Taixuan was really angry this time, otherwise he would not attack any immortal king's mansion without authorization. Qin Hao glanced at Qinyu Immortal and found that there was a golden light wrapped around his body, knowing that he should not come out so soon. Hey, it seems we still need to stay in the fairyland for a while. After saying that, Qin Hao also sat cross-legged on the ground. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 294. Click. Along with the sound of broken golden light, Qin Hao slowly opened his tightly closed eyes. I saw that the golden light around the Qinyu Immortal Lord was already showing signs of falling off. The Qinyu Immortal Lord inside was glowing with golden light, as if he had been reborn from nirvana. Emperor Taixuan saw that the Immortal Lord Qinyu had come to his senses and slowly stood up from the throne. We have been silent for too long, and it should be our turn to take the stage next. After saying that, Emperor Taixuan pointed a single finger at the defensive cover. Suddenly, the cracks on the defensive cover became larger and larger, until the defensive cover could no longer be saved and was reduced to nothingness. Qinyu Immortal Lord walked slowly from inside. He came out and focused on Emperor Taixuan. My subordinates have recovered their skills and can make great contributions to the immortal realm at all times. Qin Hao and Emperor Taixuan looked at each other and looked directly outside. Well done, let the immortal kings prepare immediately, we are about to start the battle of revenge. Emperor Taixuan turned his back to Qin Hao, which made Qin Hao understand immediately. At this time, Qin Hao had already seen the leakage of magic power from Emperor Taixuan, and knew that Emperor Taixuan was not far away from the day of overcoming the disaster. Once Emperor Taixuan takes action, it will probably intensify Emperor Taixuan's difficulty in overcoming the tribulation. Qin Hao glanced at Qinyu Immortal Lord and said with a smile, assemble the team immediately, and we will go to Kailan Immortal King's mansion immediately. Emperor Taixuan saw that Qin Hao had understood what he meant, and then said, since you have chosen to participate in the battle of revenge, you should understand that kindness is something abandoned in the stinking ditch. Qin Hao heard Emperor Taixuan reminding him, and immediately nodded to Emperor Taixuan, turned around and walked out of the immortal realm with Immortal Lord Qinyu. Since the immortal King Kailan had already fallen into the immortal realm, Immortal Kailan naturally, there was no resistance in the palace. When Qin Hao just opened the door of the palace, some guests and immortal kings came out, hoping that Qin Hao could be more sensible. Unfortunately, Qin Hao did not give them a chance at all, and the immortal killing formation directly attacked them. They were wrapped in the middle and allowed the immortal killing formation to kill them. The immortal king of Qinyu saw that Qin Hao had already taken action, and he didn't know why Qin Hao wanted to kill the innocent immortal king. Now that they have sat on the position of the immortal king, they must bear the price of their reckless actions, Qin Hao said as he walked into the mansion. At this time, there were only some old servants, women, and children left in the mansion. Qin Hao immediately asked them to stop. The battle of revenge has begun. If they stay here, they will only become the coveted objects of other immortal kings. You will take them to the immortal realm and take good care of them. As soon as Qin Hao gave the order, Immortal King Qinyu immediately took them away with some people. Emperor Taixuan stood in the clouds and watched Qin Hao do his work, and he was naturally very satisfied. According to Emperor Taixuan's thoughts, they also wanted to deal with things in this way. Soon, Qin Hao burned the Kailan Immortal King's mansion into nothingness, leaving not even a trace for them. Maybe it was because Qin Hao was too cruel, and the other immortal kings simply not daring to rebel, they all focused on Qin Hao. Killing chickens to scare monkeys, Qin Hao's move is very cruel, Emperor Taixuan muttered to himself, and disappeared into the clouds. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 295. Haha, it's so refreshing this time, they don't even have the strength to resist at all. The immortal kings have slaughtered all the Kailan Immortal King's mansion, and the resentment in their hearts has naturally been released. Qin Hao watched them follow him to the immortal realm, and slowly walked to Emperor Taixuan. The matter is over now that it's done, I don't know if I need to prepare for the tribulation next. Emperor Taixuan saw that Qin Hao had discovered the power he had revealed, and slowly nodded to Qin Hao. Yes, I have already felt that the catastrophe is coming, and the time to build the Emperor Dao root base is coming. Emperor Taixuan set his sights on the sky. Qin Hao glanced at Emperor Taixuan and found that the energy in Emperor Taixuan's body was not very full. It should have been affected by the chaos in the fairyland. He turned around and looked at the others. The immortal king said to them, "You go down first, as long as I am here." Qinyu Immortal Lord looked at Qin Hao and gave them some instructions. They immediately nodded slightly to Qin Hao. A group of people left. Emperor Taixuan watched Qin Hao order them all to leave, knowing that Qin Hao had discovered that his foundation was unstable. I saw Qin Hao slowly walking in front of Emperor Taixuan, and found that the magic power was constantly leaking out of Emperor Taixuan's body. "Are you sure you can survive the catastrophe and achieve the foundation of the Emperor's path?" Emperor Taixuan saw that Qin Hao kept asking himself questions and had already begun to enter a state of contemplation. When Qin Hao saw Emperor Taixuan beginning to think deeply, he immediately knew that Emperor Taixuan also did not have much confidence. "Is there any way to pass the catastrophe through external force?" Qin Hao asked Emperor Taixuan. Since they had touched the threshold, they naturally knew something about overcoming the tribulation. Emperor Taixuan looked at Qin Hao and asked him, and thought for a while with his eyes closed, as if I thought of something. "Living things are not allowed in the tribulation, otherwise the catastrophe will also become a catastrophe for several people, and only puppets can help." When Qin Hao heard Emperor Taixuan mention the puppet, he immediately started thinking in his head, as if he wanted to see where the puppet was. Emperor Taixuan saw that Qin Hao seemed to want to help him, and immediately said to Qin Hao, "You can go to the puppet cave, the puppets inside should be the best." Now that Qin Hao already knows the puppet's location, he naturally doesn't want to waste any more time. "I will immediately ask Qinyu Immortal Lord to come over and protect him, and I will definitely bring the puppet back." Emperor Taixuan saw that Qin Hao was ready, and slowly said to Qin Hao, "I leave the honor of the immortal realm to you. I hope you won't let me down." Qin Hao watched Emperor Taixuan turn his attention to himself, and slowly clasped his fists at Emperor Taixuan. "If there is nothing else, I will set off first." After saying that, Qin Hao left the immortal realm directly. The puppet cave and the Black Sea are completely in two directions, and Qin Hao is constantly thinking about some countermeasures in his head. Suanwu is not very aggressive, so Qin Hao naturally doesn't need it. Scared. The puppet cave is completely different. They originally specialized in studying the origin of puppets, and their attack power naturally far exceeded that of ordinary immortal kings. "Hey, if the soldiers come to cover up the water and earth, they can't kill me as soon as they get inside." Qin Hao muttered, and his body immediately rose into the sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 296. Inside the cold and damp cave, Qin Hao slowly began to explore inside. Qin Hao has been in the puppet cave for a while. It is like a maze inside, and Qin Hao has never been able to get out of it. Just when Qin Hao was about to take action, a sound of footsteps suddenly came to his ears, making Qin Hao silently look into the depths of the cave. I saw a wooden man walking out slowly from the depths of the cave. His eyes were somewhat empty on Qin Hao. Puppet. It is indeed a puppet cave. The puppets inside are so lifelike. Qin Hao praised the puppet in front of him. The puppet ancestor watched Qin Hao praise his puppet and walked out from behind with a smile. I don't know who you are, but you actually came to our puppet cave. Although the puppet ancestor looked relatively relaxed on the surface, Qin Hao could see a hint of nervousness from the puppet ancestor. Qin Hao looked at the puppet ancestor up and down, bent down slightly and said, if I guessed it right, you should be the puppet ancestor in the puppet cave. On the way Qin Hao just came over, he had already investigated the puppet cave and knew that there was only one person in it. When the puppet ancestor saw that Qin Hao had recognized him, he asked, "Who are you? Why do you know my identity?" Qin Hao looked at the puppet ancestor and asked him to slowly clasp his fists and said, "Qin Hao from the immortal realm, this is my first visit. I hope the puppet ancestor will not take offense." The puppet ancestor watched Qin Hao focus on himself and slowly nodded to Qin Hao. "Our puppet cave is inextricably linked to your immortal realm. I don't know why you came to the old man's cave." From the perspective of the puppet ancestor, he did not want Qin Hao to travel inside. Seeing the puppet ancestor asking him like this, Qin Hao quickly said, "The purpose of coming here on behalf of Emperor Taixuan this time is to ask the ancestor for a puppet." "Puppet? You want a puppet?" The puppet ancestor looked Qin Hao up and down, and as if he thought of something in his head, he turned his attention to the puppet behind him. "I do have a lot of puppets in my hands, but not many can take them out." The puppet ancestor pretended to be nervous, and slowly placed his puppet in front of him. Qin Hao watched the puppet ancestor cut off the silk threads on the puppet with a knife, and immediately wanted to stop the puppet ancestor. In Qin Hao's case, it seems that he knows that the puppet ancestor is releasing his control over the puppet. "This puppet is the most perfect in our entire puppet cave, and I can only get rid of it." After saying this, the puppet ancestor placed the puppet in front of Qin Hao, as if he wanted Qin Hao to take the puppet away. He looked up and down at the puppet in front of him, and found that there was not even a single gap on the puppet, allowing Qin Hao to be very satisfied. "Since the puppet ancestor has given us a great help in the immortal realm, we will never forget the help that the puppet ancestor has given us." Qin Hao clasped his fists at the puppet ancestor and left directly with the puppet from the puppet cave. Perhaps because Qin Hao was impatient, he did not dare to stop at all in the middle and face the immortal as quickly as possible. The direction of the territory began to gallop. But Qin Hao didn't know that the puppet ancestor watched Qin Hao leave, and the corners of his mouth curved in a dangerous arc. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 297. I brought the puppet back. Qin Hao saw that Emperor Taixuan had already sat on the stage, and directly placed the puppet next to Emperor Taixuan. When Emperor Taixuan glanced at the puppet beside him, there was a faint doubt between his eyebrows, as if he found that the puppet had some the problem is the same. But Emperor Taixuan has never used a puppet, so he naturally doesn't know what's wrong with the puppet. This is the best puppet in the puppet cave, and it is also the personal puppet of the puppet ancestor. Qin Hao has told the origin of the puppet, hoping that Emperor Taixuan can understand the good intentions of the ancestor of the puppet. When Emperor Taixuan saw Qin Hao say this, he naturally gave up the idea. "Yes, we can take care of their puppet caves in the future so that they can practice in our fairyland." Now that Emperor Taixuan has spoken, the other immortal kings naturally did not dare to disobey and began to flatter Emperor Taixuan. Although the puppet was used personally by the puppet ancestor, Emperor Taixuan still had to find a way to transform the puppet, otherwise he simply cannot use a puppet to survive the catastrophe. "You are protecting me now, and I will immediately integrate the puppet and the medicinal materials, making him completely become a puppet by my side." After saying that, Qin Hao took Kinyu Immortal Lord and agreed. Seeing that Emperor Taixuan had started smelting, Qin Hao immediately took Kinyu Immortal Lord to the periphery. "This calamity is the most glorious moment for our fairyland. We must hold our ground." The Kinyu Immortal Lord's arms were already filled with light, as if he had made all preparations, just waiting for the heavenly tribulation to come. Qin Hao saw that the Kinyu Immortal Lord had already made up his mind, and said with a smile, "You can't go through the heavenly tribulation. To help, we can only find ways to block the forces outside." At the same time, Emperor Taixuan had placed the medicinal materials around the puppet, and a wisp of flame burned the medicinal materials. It didn't take long for all the medicinal materials to melt into the puppet's body, making the puppet's body stronger a little harder. Qin Hao turned his head and glanced at the table and found that the puppets had changed color. Haha, you're done, now you just have to wait for the disaster to come. Emperor Taixuan saw that the puppet was completed, so he naturally arranged the puppet next to him and closed his eyes slightly. In Emperor Taixuan's view, heavenly catastrophe may come at any time, so naturally he can't find a place to take a good rest. Rest. Qin Hao saw that everything was ready and set his sights on the other immortal kings. Send some people to guard the boundary sea. Once someone comes out of it, we must be ready immediately. Qinyu Immortal Lord looked at Qin Hao and ordered them, and immediately walked out of the team. We have already made preparations so that we can get news about them once they come out. Qin Hao looked at Qinyu Immortal Lord saying this, and immediately nodded to Qinyu Immortal Lord. The immortal killing formation was spinning around the stage. In Qin Hao's view, the immortal killing formation was his last trump card. It is necessary to protect Emperor Taixuan's smooth entry into the foundation of the Emperor's path. They have been without an immortal emperor for too long in the immortal domain, and now they urgently need an immortal emperor to calm the situation. Otherwise, it will take some time for the chaos in the immortal domain to be settled. After all, there are too many immortal kings with evil intentions.